wondering if you and your school leadership team have thought at all recently about how effectively, how creatively you are using your school assemblies as part of your overall communications plan and communications strategy to build a culture around your school where bullying finds it very difficult to thrive. The reason that I'm thinking about assemblies is I was reading some recent research and I was looking into what are schools who are already doing well in creating counter-bullying cultures around their school. What are they already doing? What are the things that exist within those schools as commonalities? And what came in incredibly high is the effective and creative use of their assemblies. And I'm going to admit that when I first looked at it, I thought, I don't really understand what that's all about. Assemblies? How could that possibly be making such a significant difference? When I read into it a little more deeply, what I found was that they were able to unpack for me that school assemblies are still, amongst all of the communicative channels that you could use to get messages out into the school community, your assemblies are still the one time when a school leader gets up and speaks to the three key stakeholder groups in your culture: the staff, the students, and the parents, in the same language about the things that are a priority in your school. And I mention that word priority very explicitly and deliberately because unfortunately I think that what we've come to do is to start to actually use our assemblies to communicate things that are not priorities. And I'm wondering whether your school has fallen for that trap. Have we fallen for the trap of getting up and speaking to our families and our stakeholders about the operationals? Have we gotten up and started to tell them about the things that are going to happen that week, letting them know that when things are going to start, when things are going to finish, and whether there's any special disruptions that they should be aware of? Have we started to use our assemblies to merely report? Do we get people to get up and talk about excursions that went on, or do we actually re-honour the students who have already won ribbons at sports days? Or are we perhaps using our assemblies to almost in a piecemeal kind of way celebrate student achievement that perhaps isn't student achievement at all? I know that many schools are going down the track of using perhaps Student of the Week awards, where we go from one class all the way across the school. They nominate a student who sometimes has won the award just because they've waited long enough to get that award, and not because they've achieved anything particularly monumental or noteworthy. And what we're not doing in those situations is demonstrating our expertise. And this is where we can make a significant difference in terms of building trust between the school community and school leadership within the school. When you go into a doctor's surgery, you sit down in that doctor's surgery. If you sit down, often they take you into the doctor's suite before the doctors arrive, and you've got a couple of moments to sit there on your own. And quite deliberately and explicitly, what they ensure that you are seeing is the doctor's qualifications up on the wall, because they want you to understand that the person about to walk into the room and work with you is an expert, and we should trust them because of their expertise. Look at the certificates that they have been able to earn at prestigious universities. Yet sometimes when we get up in front of our entire school community, we don't talk to our expertise. We don't speak to the incredible skill that school leaders and our teachers have that has them stand out from not only from parents, but from other professions in the community as well. To be really honest, we just don't talk about how fantastic we are often enough. So what I want to contend to you when it comes to assemblies is that what we need to do is to take on a notion that's a little bit like building fire. If you want to build fire, then you're going to need three key elements. You're going to need oxygen, you're going to need fuel, and you're going to need heat. Now, if we want to have a really effective communication plan, I think that we need three elements as well. First of all is you're going to need a fantastic message, and that's what I've just been speaking to today. We need to speak less about the operations of the school, and we need to speak more about how fantastic we are about great teaching and learning, and how is it that we build a culture where young people can thrive and become really fantastic citizens. Citizens who don't go out into the world and use power over others in bullying type situations. The second element, beyond the message that we're going to need, is we're going to need volume. We're going to need to speak regularly enough to those important issues. I think that's the fuel for our fire, for our communicative fire. And I think that when we don't have a particularly strong message, we're a little untrustworthy. We give people the impression that we're not doing anything particularly important, so they feel that they can challenge us on our work. I feel that when we don't speak with enough volume to those messages, we don't say them regularly enough, we sound a bit unconvincing. And I think that when we miss the third element, which is the third one, is are we using all of our communication channels, which means We don't need to cover the operationals at Assemblies. We could actually cover them through all of the different ways that you have available. You have signs at the front of your school, you have newsletters, you have apps, you have text message services, you have letters that go home from teachers, you have email. They can all communicate operationals incredibly well. Let's make sure that we use them for that, because because people do consume their messages and consume their news from the school in a variety of different ways now. But can we make our assemblies something where we talk about our expertise? When we fail to use those multiple channels, we're a little bit uninteresting. We're kind of just using the same channel over and over and over again, and a lot of people want to get up and grab the remote and change channels. So use all of the communicative channels that you have available to you, and then I think you can do a really fantastic job of getting everybody better than figuratively, but actually literally on the same page about what you're trying to do to build a great school culture, specifically one where bullying finds it very difficult to take root.